The text set for study this year for the area of study belonging is Stephen Herrick's verse novel, The Simple Gift. The purpose of this text is to narrate the story of Billy and to reflect upon his complex feelings as he experiences challenging and difficult circumstances in his life. A verse novel is a unique text type as it encompasses two quite different forms. To engage with the narrative element of the text as a novel, it is suggested that you first read the text straight through in a few sittings to get a good overall sense of the plot, characters, settings and ideas. A second reading would be beneficial for examining the work as poetry. This may be easy to do if you select the verse out of chronological order. Instead, read each piece as a separate text, identifying the poetic features and structures. Read the verse aloud to hear their sounds and the rhythms as standalone pieces. Chapter 1 is called Champagne Billy. The chapter consists of 12 poems with 11 told from the perspective of Billy. The initial poems explore Billy's thoughts and feelings as he prepares to leave. We are led by the quote above the picture of the railway tracks to the idea that Billy is striking out at a negative context, one that he must leave in order to feel a sense of belonging somewhere else. The poetry goes on to detail the landmarks that characterise his turbulent childhood. He then escapes on a train where he meets Ernie, and welcomes him and provides him with company until they reach Benderat. The opening to the verse novel establishes Billy in a state of dislocation that has led to him feeling isolated and alone. The opening poem Champagne is an ironic opening to the novel, as the drink itself is often associated with a time of celebration. However, in this case, it is describing how Billy has chosen to leave his father. The adjambment of verbs I go, take, load, leave describes a premeditated choice to end one connection and search for another. Relationships between people can act as a barrier to belonging as much as they can be connections between people. The note he leaves, see you dad, I've taken the alcohol. Drink this instead to celebrate your son leaving home, inverts the perception of celebration and embodies Billy's belief that his father has no interest in him. The filial disconnection leads Billy to explore the world in search of a context where he feels validated and loved. In terms of textual form, it is interesting to note how a verse novel allows the author to embed a letter inside the poetry, giving it a feature distinct from traditional poetry and giving the reader greater insight into a character's thoughts and feelings. Particular places can enable an individual to feel a sense of connection because of associated memories, connection to past history, and opportunities provided by a particular land, house, or environment. In a literal sense, places such as a family home, a country of origin, or arrival, or a place that provides a space for escape are good examples of significant literal places. In a figurative sense, memories, cultural heritage, and places where there's been grief or love form much of an individual's identity. The poems Longlands Road and Westfield Creek explore how an individual can feel disconnected or aligned to a place purely because of the experience they have had there. Longland Road, for Billy, is a negative context, and he uses negative diction. I threw one rock on the roof of each deadbeat no-hoper to capture this sense of disconnection that he felt towards the place. I suppose to juxtapose that, we could see Westfield Creek as a place where he felt very connected. The bucolic imagery highlights the power and beauty of memory, nature and place. And this is the first introduction to nature as a motif, and it will become prominent as the verse novel continues. For Billy, he is searching for meaningful relationships where he feels validated as a young man. The poem Men explores Billy's quest to understand the type of man he yearns to emulate. The juxtaposition of Ernie and his father symbolises Billy's growing understanding of the range of men in the world. Even though he has just met Ernie, he aligns strongly with him because of his unprompted generosity and warmth, demonstrated through the positive connotations in the line, men who share a drink and food. Conversely, he describes his father as the other, suggesting a significant disconnect that cannot be redressed. The anaphora of men, followed by the positive verbs share, know and see, highlights how Billy's values align with morally just individuals. This poem very much supports how belonging to relationships is a significant idea for all of us. Belonging can be created, supported or broken by relationships. An individual's view of their world and self is often a reflection of how valued they feel by others. Relationships, whether familial, social, or romantic, can transform an individual to attain a greater sense of security and motivation, or they may be once broken, cause an individual to become internally damaged and isolated. The 4 poems mentioned in this presentation are only a snapshot of the opening chapter. You should recognise not only these poems but the others, and delve further into the text by exploring all poems as a collective narrative.